Hello and welcome to yet another episode of NewsX India A-List, where we bring you the success stories of stalwarts from all walks of life. First up on the show is Sanjay Ghare. He's the co-founder and CEO of Vervotech. We also have on the telecast Adhiraj Mehra and Drishti Pava, who are the managing partner AMDP Advisors. And finally, we have Dr. Amushri Jha, who's the director of Divinity, and she's also the founder of PoojaShoppe.com.
The visionary behind Vervotech.
Starting Vervotech as a whole in 5 years.
Started taking customers globally because our vision was make the mapping available to the world.
Changing the game of travel technology in India.
Your technology is being integrated into Juniper's offerings.
Juniper Group have a lot of key travel tech companies, which includes Juniper and few more. And Vervotech will get integrated seamlessly, where customers signing up on Juniper and the other group companies can get the Vervotech services just by clicks.
NewsX India A-List proudly recognizes Sanjay Ghare for excellence in entrepreneurship.
First question that obviously comes to my mind is, what motivated your decision to be acquired by CSI? Can you describe the key factors that influenced your decision to accept the acquisition offer?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you, Vinit, for having me. It's a pleasure. I think two things. First is the benefits we are getting through this acquisition, the strategic benefit, because CSI is world's 8th largest software company in the globe, and they have more than 1,000 software companies as a part of portfolio. So we have a lot more to collaborate and gain from acquirer. That's one. And second is the operating model. So Vervotech will remain independent, function as is without any changes in the brand, in the operation. I think these were the two key things which kind of helped me to take this decision and move ahead.
Well, I think it's, in hindsight, it was a great decision. Can you also share insights onto how your product or your technology is being integrated into Juniper's offerings? Are there any plans for rebranding or renaming your product or services, or will you be totally independent?
Yeah, so as I said, we'll be totally independent, operations-wise, product-wise. There is no change in the operations and brand at all. But yes, Juniper Group have a lot of key travel tech companies, which includes Juniper and few more. And Vervotech will get integrated seamlessly, where customers signing up on Juniper and the other group companies can get the Vervotech services just by clicks.
Wonderful. And Sanjay, also talk about how do you perceive the cultural fit between your startup and the conglomerate CSI? Have there been any cultural challenges, so to speak?
So that's the interesting question, right? The way Constellation operates, that there is only the KPIs and the financial metrics is, the best practices which needs to be followed. But from the cultural standpoint, every company can have their own culture, their own strategies, their own way of operating. So from the cultural standpoint, nothing is really changing for us, because we are just getting some best practices so that from a startup mindset, we can start thinking like an enterprise.
Absolutely. And Sanjay, also talk about your long-term goals within CSI ecosystem. Can you also discuss any plans for product development, expansion, or growth post the acquisition, of course?
Yes, of course. So there are two main things. One is from the Vervotech standpoint. In last 5 years, we have been now known as an option for taking a mapping and content services to pretty much everyone in the globe. First thing we want to achieve is we want to become the most preferred option. Just like, if you're going to buy the phone, there may be 10 options available in the market, but iPhone becomes the best preferred. You buy it or not, doesn't matter, but iPhone is still the best. Everyone agrees to it.
Absolutely.
So first is we want Vervotech to be the most preferred option from just being an option. That's the one goal. Second is, as a strategy of Constellation, we are also looking at acquiring few more companies in the similar space and do have an inorganic growth in India and Asia region. And India is one of the key focus for Constellation. That also has an for us and motivation to work with them, because then we can help few more travel tech companies in India as well.
That's wonderful. And of course, what valuable lessons have you learned from this acquisition process and starting Vervotech as a whole in 5 years? Is there anything you would have done differently in retrospect?
Absolutely. So I would start with what I would have done differently if I have to go back, in last 5 years. When we started Vervotech, we started taking customers globally because our vision was make the mapping available to the world. But I think, signing up a customer in each market, came with new challenges and the new needs from each market. So if I have to go back, I would start with one market instead of starting globally. That's one thing. Second is, I think the biggest learning from acquisition, I would say, is acquisition can't be planned. You have to be very clear about your goals and what you really want to achieve, and then on the way you have to make the decision when acquisition is getting aligned with your goals and needs. It can't really be planned as such.
Absolutely. And Sanjay, what advice would you give to other startups considering acquisition as a strategic option? Are there any specific factors or criteria they should prioritize during negotiations according to you?
Absolutely. So I would say, acquisition. One thing is how do you value your company, and I think a lot of focus goes in that. But I would say there are a lot of best practices and ways available to really figure out the value of your startup in acquisition. What is very important is the other things, how the company is going to run, the growth, what are the other strategic benefits and how the other terms are defined in the acquisition. And don't only look at, because you will be a lot of companies who are out there to buy your company will reach out to you. You have to figure out who is going to add a value to yourself or your company in deciding who are the right, acquirer for you. And once you decide that, then focus on the other terms beyond the value as well, because I'm sure value is most important. But once that is agreed, focus on the other things.
Well said. And how have your customers and stakeholders responded to the acquisition? Have you seen any changes in customer behavior or satisfaction levels?
Yeah, so I think shareholders are happy because it's all planned and everyone was always aligned. But from the customer standpoint, there are a lot of queries coming, though we have cleared that in the press release. But one common question is coming, is there going to be any change operationally? Is there any kind of merging? And which we are kind of reiterating that nothing is really going to change the way we operate. That's the only question which is coming very frequently since this news is out.
All right, last question, Sanjay, before we let you go. How has the acquisition personally impacted you as a founder or a key team member? What are your personal takeaways from this experience that you have had?
I will say two things. One thing is, acquisition has made me more confident than ever because in the journey of building the company we have pretty much achieved everything, but this is a milestone which gives a lot more confidence, and now we have a lot more support available. And second, during the acquisition things are never smooth. There are always the all kind of times. One thing which I have experienced in the past also, idea is important for startup, money is important for startup, but the most important is the team. If you have the right team, you will be able to figure out every way, every thing on the way. And in the acquisition also, I think most important thing, which has helped me is my own team, which I'm super proud of.
Well said, Sanjay. Well, evidently, and as we can all see, obviously you are one of our brightest, and your charisma has gotten you this far, and I'm very positive that it will take you further ahead in life as well. Thank you so much for speaking with us.